Everything around him was on fire. The rocket had just exploded. The cash was running out. The press had already started writing the story of his collapse. And in the middle of all of it, in the specific concentrated chaos of a year that was trying to destroy everything he had built, he noticed something, not about the rockets, about a feeling. A specific, unexpected, completely counterintuitive feeling that arrived in the presence of one particular person. Calm, not the absence of chaos. The chaos was still there, still real, still threatening everything. But beside this person, in this specific, narrow, completely private space, something in him went quiet. Not numb, not avoidant, quiet in the way that only real safety produces, and he understood something that would take him years to fully articulate. That real love does not feel like fireworks. It does not feel like the electric, overwhelming intensity that the movies have taught us to call love. Real love feels like calm in the middle of chaos. That is the test, not how good it feels when everything is easy. How calm it feels when everything is not. This is that story. Stay with me, because most people have never felt this and mistake something else for love their entire lives. We have been taught the wrong thing from the very beginning. Every story, every song, every cultural artifact that has shaped our understanding of what love is supposed to feel like has taught us one thing. That love is intensity. That love is the racing heart, the butterflies, the overwhelming, all-consuming, cannot think about anything else feeling that arrives when you meet the right person. That love announces itself through excitement, through chemical fireworks, through the specific physiological arousal of attraction. And so we go looking for that feeling. We measure relationships by it. We leave relationships that have lost it. We chase it in new ones, and we build our entire understanding of romantic value around a feeling that is, biologically speaking, simply the nervous system's response to novelty and uncertainty. Not a measure of depth, not a measure of safety, not a measure of what will actually last, just novelty, uncertainty, the specific, exciting, completely unstable feeling of not yet knowing what is going to happen. And here is the problem. That feeling cannot sustain a real life. It cannot survive the worst year. It cannot hold steady when everything else is falling apart. Because it was never built for steadiness. It was built for novelty. And novelty, by definition, does not last. Elon Musk chased that feeling in more than one relationship. The intensity, the excitement, the specific electric charge of meeting someone extraordinary. And every time the feeling faded, not because love had failed, but because he had mistaken the wrong thing for love. There was a different feeling, one he did not immediately recognize because it did not announce itself the way the world had taught him love should. It arrived quietly in the middle of the worst chaos, in a moment when nothing about the external circumstances had improved. The rocket was still in pieces, the cash was still disappearing, the future was still completely uncertain. And in that exact moment, in the presence of one specific person, he felt something settle, not the chaos. The chaos was still there, something inside him. The specific, internal, completely real experience of a nervous system that has found, against all the external evidence suggesting otherwise, a place to rest. It did not feel exciting, it did not feel electric, it felt like exhaling after holding your breath for longer than you realized. It felt like the specific relief of putting down something heavy that you had forgotten you were carrying. It felt like quiet in the middle of noise, and he did not have language for it at the time, because the language he had been given for love was the language of intensity. And this was something else, something that the intensity language could not describe. He would spend years learning what to call it. Let me explain what was actually happening in his body in that moment, because the science of this is real, and understanding it changes everything. The nervous system has two primary states relevant to relationships. The first is the activated state, the fight, flight, or excitement response. This is what intensity feels like. The racing heart, the heightened attention, the specific physiological arousal that we have learned to call chemistry. This state is useful for survival, for short bursts of high alertness, but it is exhausting to sustain. And it is not, biologically speaking, the state associated with safety. It is the state associated with uncertainty. The second state is the regulated state, the parasympathetic, rest and digest, nervous system at ease state. This is what calm feels like, the slowed heart rate, the relaxed muscles, the specific physiological signal that the body sends when it has determined, through whatever combination of instinct and experience that determines such things, that it is safe. Here, now, with this person, this is the state that real intimacy requires, because you cannot be vulnerable in the activated state. You cannot be fully present in the activated state. You cannot do the slow, patient, completely real work of building a life with someone while your nervous system is treating every interaction as a potential threat or a thrilling uncertainty. Real love requires the regulated state, the calm one. And the specific biological signal that someone produces that state in you is more important than any amount of excitement they produce, because excitement is the nervous system responding to uncertainty, calm is the nervous system responding to safety, and safety, not excitement, is what sustains a life. He grew up without that calm, not because no one loved him, but because the specific environment of his childhood did not produce the regulated state. His house was not predictable, not safe in the deep nervous system level way that allows a child to fully relax. His father's emotional climate was unpredictable enough, cold enough, conditionally warm enough that the boy's nervous system learned early to stay activated, to stay alert, to never fully trust that the environment was safe enough to relax into completely. And a nervous system that learns to stay activated in childhood carries that pattern into adulthood, into every relationship, into the specific, unconscious, completely automatic expectation that relationships require vigilance, that you cannot fully relax even with someone you love because some part of you, the part that learned its lessons early and never forgot them, is still scanning for the moment when the warmth might withdraw, for the conditions that might not be met, for the safety that might prove, once again, to be conditional. And so, he found intensity easier to recognize than calm, because intensity was familiar. Intensity matched the activated state his nervous system had learned to consider normal. Calm, real, deep, nervous system level calm was foreign, almost suspicious, because a part of him did not trust it, could not quite believe that something this quiet, this unremarkable, this without excitement could be the real thing. I want to explain something important about why people who have learned to expect chaos often distrust calm when they finally find it. When you have spent your life in relationships, or in a family, or in an environment that required vigilance, your nervous system builds a specific association. Safety equals naivety. Calm equals not paying attention. Quiet equals something being wrong that you have not noticed yet. And so when real calm arrives, when you finally encounter a relationship that does not require vigilance, some part of you, the old part, the part that learned its lessons in childhood and never updated the programming, gets suspicious. This feels too easy. This feels too quiet. Where is the catch? And in that suspicion, people often do something tragic. They manufacture chaos unconsciously to restore the familiar activated state. They pick fights that do not need to happen. They create distance to test whether the person will chase. They sabotage the calm, because the calm, paradoxically, feels less safe than the chaos they know how to navigate. Elon Musk has likely done versions of this. Not consciously, not maliciously, but the pattern of a nervous system that learned vigilance in childhood does not disappear simply because the right person has arrived. It takes specific, deliberate, completely conscious work to recognize the suspicion and choose the calm anyway. To let the nervous system slowly, patiently, over the accumulated evidence of consistent safety, learn a new lesson that this calm is not naivety. It is the real thing finally arrived. The right woman produces calm, not excitement primarily, though excitement exists too, in its proper place, in the proper moments, but primarily, in the deepest, most important, most sustaining sense, she produces calm. Her presence, the specific quality of her attention, the consistency of her responses, the reliability of her staying, all of it, accumulated over time, sends a signal to his nervous system that has nothing to do with conscious thought. Safe, here, with this person, you can rest. And the resting, the specific, biological, completely real experience of a nervous system finally finding safety, after decades of learned vigilance, is the most valuable thing she offers him. More valuable than any excitement, more valuable than any intensity, because excitement he has had in abundance, from multiple relationships, from multiple sources. Calm, real, deep nervous system, level calm he has rarely had. And when he encounters it, when he finally feels his own body settle in the presence of one specific person, he recognizes it, even though it took years to learn the recognition, even though his nervous system initially treated it with suspicion, he recognizes it now as the real thing, the thing that all the intensity was never quite providing. I want to give you a different test, not the test the world teaches, not, does this person excite me? Does my heart race? Do I feel that overwhelming, can't stop thinking about them intensity? That test measures novelty, not depth. Here's the real test. When everything else in your life is falling apart, when the chaos is real and external and completely outside your control, how do you feel in this person's presence? Does the chaos get louder because their presence adds anxiety, adds management, adds another thing you have to navigate carefully? Or does something in you, despite the external chaos, go quiet? Does your body recognize safety, even when nothing around you is safe? That is the test, not the excitement test, the calm test. Because the people who pass the excitement test are often the people who add chaos rather than absorb it, who require management rather than provide safety, who excite your nervous system rather than regulate it. And the people who pass the calm test are often, at first, less exciting, less dramatic, less immediately compelling in the ways the world has taught you to look for. But they are the ones who actually hold when the real chaos arrives, because they were never adding to your activation. They were always quietly, consistently offering you rest. I want to give you something practical, because recognizing calm, when you have spent your life mistaking intensity for love, is a skill that needs to be learned. Here is how. Notice your body, not your thoughts, your body. After spending time with this person, are your shoulders down or up? Is your breathing slow or shallow? Does your mind feel quiet? Or does it feel like it needs to keep managing something? The body tells the truth before the mind has finished constructing a narrative. Pay attention to it. Notice the absence of vigilance. Are you constantly monitoring this relationship, checking for signs of withdrawal, managing your behavior to prevent a negative response? Or have you, without quite noticing when it happened, stopped doing that, stopped scanning, stopped managing, simply existing in their presence without the background hum of vigilance? That absence, that specific, quiet, completely real absence of constant monitoring is calm, and it is rare, and it is precious. Notice what happens during actual chaos. Not the hypothetical kind, the real kind. When something genuinely difficult happens in your life, do you want to call them? Not because you need them to fix it, but because something in you knows that telling them will make the chaos feel smaller. Not because they will solve it, because their presence regulates you. If the answer is yes, you have found something rare. If the answer is no, if their presence during real chaos adds to your management rather than reducing it, that is information, important information about what they actually provide. I want to tell you what becomes possible when a relationship is built on calm rather than intensity. It looks different, not less passionate, differently passionate. The passion exists, but it exists on top of a foundation rather than instead of one. The arguments, when they happen, do not threaten the foundation because the foundation is calm, is safety, is the deep nervous system level knowledge that this relationship can hold disagreement without dissolving. The difficult seasons, when they arrive, do not destabilize the relationship because the relationship was never built on the absence of difficulty. It was built on calm in the presence of it, and that calm, that specific, foundational, completely sustaining calm allows for something extraordinary. It allows both people to be fully themselves without managing, without performing, without the constant low-level vigilance that intensity-based relationships require. It allows for rest, real rest, the kind that makes everything else in life possible. Because you are not spending your energy managing the relationship, you can spend it on the work, the mission, the extraordinary things you are trying to build. Because the relationship, the calm, regulated, deeply safe relationship, is not draining your resources. It is replenishing them. That is the life built on calm, and it is the life Elon Musk is finally beginning to understand he has been looking for all along. Underneath all the intensity he mistook for the answer, real love does not feel like fireworks. It feels like calm in the middle of chaos, not the absence of difficulty, the presence of safety, even when everything else is falling apart. That is the test, not how exciting someone makes you feel, how calm they make you feel when nothing else is calm. Elon Musk learned this the expensive way, through chaos that was real, through relationships that offered intensity but not safety, through the slow, specific, completely necessary education of a nervous system finally learning to recognize the real thing when it arrived, calm in the middle of chaos. That is love, the real kind, the kind that holds, not because it excites you, because it regulates you, not because your heart races, because your body finally can rest. Look for that, not the fireworks, the calm. It is rarer, it is quieter, and it is the only thing that actually lasts. If this story helped you recognize something, a relationship that calms you or one that has only ever excited you, then trust what your body has been telling you. It usually knows before your mind catches up. And if you want more stories like this, stories that help you recognize the real thing, subscribe and stay with us. Every week, helping you find calm in a world that mistakes chaos for passion. We will see you there.